Hey tubers, welcome back for another adventure. And what we have here is 150 cc's worth of X-Treme all-terrain vehicle. This is one of those China specials. I bought it because I liked the 150 cc GY6 engine, and I just kind of want to give it an initial going through so I can figure out what I have going on with it. I took a quick look at the front wheels, and given that this is a 3/4 size, it doesn't seem to use your typical front hubs, the ones off the 110 cc models. So I have a couple of TRX 125s floating around. Hopefully I could get a set of front wheels onto it from one of those, because quite honestly, to pull this whole assembly off to swap it to the wheels off a 110 cc would be a lot of work. But that work might not be necessary if I discover the engine is no good and the rear end is blown. So let's spend a few minutes with it and see what we have. I always like to start out with a compression test. It just kind of gives you an idea what kind of motor you got, if it's any good, and quite honestly, the Kickstarter seems to have some issues, so I want to get to the electric starter. And to do that, I'm going to need to remove some of these plastics to get to the solenoid. Well, let me show you what we got under the seat. I already clipped a battery to this, and let me give you a hint, I got nothing out of it, no lights, no starter, nothing. So we're gonna have to go a little closer to the starter to see if we have anything that functions. So we got all the plastics off, and by the way, there's no shortage of hardware holding the plastic on. And I traced the wires. Right, so from here, the battery, right, and there's your starting relay underneath here. And they were talking about, one of the characters who seemed to know a little bit about what he was doing said, yeah, I think the starting relay is no good. Obviously, I put power to the bike and it did not turn over with the key switch and push button. So, from the looks of it though, I don't think they've been in here poking around with the starting relay, so we'll see in a moment. So, here's the starting solenoid. I think it could very well be dead. It looks pretty nasty. But I did clip the ground to ground, and here's the hot wire. This one goes off to the starter, and so it does sound like it has some potential. Let's do a compression test on it and see if it actually even has the potential to run. While I'm doing that, I think I'm also going to... where do these wires go? I'm trying to figure out if it needs... if it's got a... I think this one looks like it has an AC pulse generator, so we could also check out the spark. We could do both at once. So I managed to get the compression gauge on there. I got the carburetor loosened up right at the manifold. So this is dry. I didn't put any oil down there. It came in at 90. Let's throw some oil in there and see what she does. Well, put some oil down the cylinder. Let's try a wet compression test. And about 110, give or take a little bit. So this thing should be able to run, but it's not in great shape. You guys might remember I spent $100 on this thing. I think old Harvey might have been ripped off. I think this thing is much closer to a $25 or $50 quad than it is a $100 quad. I think I spent too much money on it, especially given that the front wheels are missing. It would have been one thing if perhaps it had no front tires, but given that the wheel hubs are missing and it's not fall off a log easy to change those out, yeah, I think I paid too much money. Old Harvey was ripped off on this one. Even from a parts point of view, well, I guess I have a starter, an engine that appears to be mostly intact there. A seat that's mostly intact. Those back tires look like they might live. I'm also beginning to get the feeling that the rear end is blown on this thing. So even once it does run, it's not going to move. I don't know that yet, but I'm getting a feeling from when I rolled it around, some stuff I noted. So yeah, I think old Harvey might have taken one in the shorts on this. I don't think it was the greatest deal. Anyway, I'm going to continue to kind of look at it, but I'm not dying to work on it. I think I'd rather put the time and effort in on this one. It's much closer to running, and this one, the bill is only at $20 at this point. I got a long way to go, $80 before I catch up with the other one. So yeah, you know, a lot of people might say you should have known better, you shouldn't have bought it, you got ripped off, you're a moron, and so forth and on. But you know, if you don't play in this game, you don't win and you don't lose. You sit on the couch. I'd rather be playing with these things, working on them, you know, satisfying curiosity and so forth, than sitting on the couch. But once again, I think in the long run, this just isn't gonna make it. Even running, I mean, what's she worth? Call it three and a quarter. And straightening out those front wheels don't look like they're gonna be fall off a log easy. So yeah, I paid basically $100 for a parts machine, and it's truly debatable that I'm going to get $100 worth of parts out of it. I've picked up some of these engines off the internet as returns, no hours returns with carburetor, CDI, and a few other parts, delivered to the house for about $100. So I'd rather have one of those brand new motors than one of these junkers. So anyway, we'll see how it all turns out in the long run, but yeah, this was no home run for Harvey. Anyway, I really want to thank everybody for dropping by and watching and commenting and subscribing. Please remember to keep your feet down, your heads up, and get out and enjoy each and every day. Bye now.